Hey y'all, it's Amanda and this is my Texas Zone 8 garden, and before we dive in, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with a fellow gardening friend. Okay, we finally had a break in the heat here in the North Texas area. Now this is what we call fake fall, pretend fall. It's not real fall yet. It's like fake out fall. It'll be like fall for like a week and then it's gonna get really hot again, and then we'll go to our actual real fall. But still very exciting because you can feel the change in the air. And with that being said, I am beginning to prep to plant all these seedlings that I have grown from fruition all the way through fruition. We'll be getting them planted out probably the second week in September. That's what I'm kind of thinking. I'll have to obviously wait and see what temperatures look like because I won't be planting them out in triple degree temps, but I'm really looking for cooler evenings. Not necessarily concerned about the daytime temps. I'm really looking for the evenings to start cooling off, because even like in the worst part of summer, like our evenings, like the lows will get to like 89, 90 sometimes because it's just so hot. So once those lows start dropping down a little bit more, closer to the 70s, then I know that I can start planting outside. So I'm super excited. With that being said, I am starting to plan out my fall containers, and I'm super excited because fall containers are literally my favorite containers to plant every year. And so today I wanted to talk about the 10 best plants for fall containers. Now, all of these that I'm going to be talking about are really based off of what works best for my Texas Zone 8 garden. Those of you who are more up north, I think you have a wider variety of plants that you can work with. For us, it's still hot during the fall. So basically, I'm looking for plants that can withstand this heat and the sun, and then also give us that fall texture and vibe that we're craving in this area. Many people reach for mums, and I'm here to tell you no. It's a no on mums, okay? A lot of people, I feel like mums are such a waste of money, in my personal opinion, because they don't last long here at all. So what I really want to focus on is showing you some other options besides mums. Now, timing is super important for this time of year in the fall. You really want to make sure you're timing it correct for Texas Zone 8. So we want to plant, early to mid-September through early October when nights begin cooling down and days are still warm. After about the second week in October, I don't plant anymore for fall containers and anything that I want for that season. At that point, I'm planting perennials, cool flowers, things that I want planted for the next spring. And the reason I stopped planting for anything for fall in probably the first or second week of October is because we're getting really close to our cold snap, and there's just not enough time for any plants to be that enjoyable or worth the money in that small amount of time. Okay, why am I against mums in Zone 8? I'm not against all mums. I have an entire garden of heirloom chrysanthemums that will bloom for me in November. That will be absolutely stunning, and I will love harvesting all of them. Absolutely love that. And I've got a few garden mums tucked into my garden in a few places, and they do return as a perennial in my area, so that's really great. What I'm talking about are all those mums and pots that you see at the local nurseries, the big box stores, gosh, even your grocery store. Everybody has mums everywhere. So here's my thoughts. Mums are gorgeous, and they look beautiful for about 2 to 3 weeks. And then that's it. Then they decline very fast in the Texas heat. There's not enough time for a repeat bloom cycle on them. They just tend to be a waste of money. So instead, I think investing in plants that last the whole fall season and provide structure, color, and texture, I think that is the direction to go instead of wasting your money on mums. And I say this as someone who's wasted tons of money on mums from absolute experience, totally wasted. And every year around this time, I see people posting pictures of mums being like, why is my mum already dead? Why isn't this last longer? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, don't buy mums. Don't do it. Go buy other plants that are going to give you your color and texture for longer. Okay, so let's talk about the 10 best plants that work really well for my area for fall containers. Number 1, purple fountain grass. And I feel like this one is a must-have in my area. It's a deep burgundy purple blades arcing beautifully and fluffy pinkish purple plumes in the fall. Absolutely gorgeous. It adds height and drama to containers. And if you really want a fall vibe, this is literally the number 1 plant that I would go with. You can plant just this in containers and it is absolutely beautiful. Why it works? It's heat tolerant, thrives well into the fall and provides strong vertical accent in the space. It definitely gives like a rustic vibe, a fall vibe, a harvest vibe to it, which I think is really fun. And the really deep like purple burgundy color is very contrasting to a lot of what we currently have in our gardens in this Zone 8 Texas area. I grew a lot of purple fountain grass from seed this year, so I'm really excited to get it out. I would like a whole wall of it in one area, which I'm super psyched about to get it done. And then I will put it in some containers. It can get up to 3-4 feet tall, and so it adds a lot of drama to a space, a lot of height to the space. It can also, you can allow it to just die off during the winter, and it will stay like brown in tone and color and adds a little bit of texture to your winter garden. Not the most attractive grass that you can have for the winter, but still it is kind of nice to have at least a little something in the winter garden. Okay, next on my list is marigolds, and I did marigolds as a whole, but we'll talk about some different varieties that I really like. Their appearance is bright gold, orange, yellow, rust tones that look like basically little balls of sun, just absolute sun, bright and beautiful. And they tend to be in compact mounds of color, which is really, really fun. Now, I grow a lot of different varieties. I grow some really tall varieties for cut flowers, and I grow some short varieties for containers. Marigolds do have a very strong scent that a lot of people do not enjoy. So if you are deciding to put some of those in your containers, make sure you enjoy that scent enough to have that container close to you if you're planting on your porch or something like that. I personally love the smell of marigolds. I think it's very earthy smelling, and I'm totally into that. But just to give you a heads up about that, make sure that you like that scent. Why it works: marigolds handle lingering heat and provide long-lasting blooms that power through the entire summer and the entire fall. They attract tons of pollinators, and you can keep them blooming by just continuing to deadhead. As the head of the marigold dies off, just pinch it off and it will replace itself with a new bloom. They are very high contrasting, so I think that works really well in container designs to have a couple of marigolds tucked into a few areas on a container. Varieties that are fun to work with. I'm growing Inca Primrose, I think is what it's called, which is a big yellow one. I've actually got them down here. I'm growing that one. I'm also growing Strawberry Blonde marigolds, which are to die for gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. I can't imagine that I won't grow them for every year to come in the future because they're so beautiful. African marigolds, whatever kind of piques your fancy when you're walking around the nursery, just bringing that really beautiful fall color into your designs. Okay, next on the list is a little bit different in that it's typically known as a summer flower, and that is zinnias. And I think they work great as a fall flower. They're a little bit harder to find in our area at this time of year. Typically, you can find these about midsummer. Grab up these zinnias, plant them in your garden, and if you choose an appropriate color, you can make them last into fall. But there tend to be just a few of these spotted around in our nurseries, and if you do see them, go ahead and snap them up for some containers. They have a daisy-like blooms in shades of red, orange, pink, yellow, all different kinds of colors. They're upright, cheerful, bold. They just add a lot of pizzazz and personality to a container. Why these work: these are heat loving. They do better with the heat, which is awesome. They're annuals, which is great. I love when my containers die all the way back and I can just rip out the annuals and replace them the next year. And they last up until the frost, and they have great continuous color. You can also continue to deadhead these as well, and they will continue to produce blooms throughout the entire season. Okay, number 4 on my list is ornamental cabbage and kale / edible stuff that would work really well. Anything that has that like cabbage kale styling and feel. So I really focus more on the ornamental ones that are more kind of the rosette-like heads in purples, greens, pinks, and whites. The leaves tend to curl and ruffle in cooler temps, which is really fun. These are big, bold, beautiful statement pieces because you can get them really large. I always find the best value and the largest ones at Homegrown Plants in Farmersville. So if you're interested in having a bunch of those, that's definitely the place that I would head out. The deal with the cabbage is you definitely need to make sure that our nights are cooler. or your cabbage will bolt because of the heat. Even the ornamental cabbage, it will bolt because of our heat. So definitely make sure you're not planting those until about mid-September. That's a really good time to plant them. They do get ravaged by cabbage worms in our area, so kind of keep an eye on that as well. When you initially plant them, you can just do an initial treatment on them right away, and that should keep all the cabbage moths away, which would be great. Now you can also plant things like Swiss chard, like you can do other edibles, edible kale, things like that, which is really fun because then you can cut and gather from that container to use for culinary purposes. So keep that in mind if you like the look of the ornamental cabbage kale, but you want it to have more purpose, you can go for actual edibles that will work great in your containers. So why it works, these thrive at night in the cooler temps. They love the cooler temps, which is great. They add bold foliage, contrast, and texture. Very different from pretty much anything else that we have on our list. And I really do think they just scream fall. They also transition into winter pretty well for us as well. Okay, next on my list is sweet potato vines, which is typically something we think of as more winter, but I really like sweet potato vines for their trailing foliage. You can get them in a bright chartreuse color or in deep purple blacks. I prefer the deep black, purple, burgundy tones that you can get around this time, and I think those speak beautifully in containers, just trailing out. I think they have a little bit more of a spooky vibe, which I love Halloween, so I love including these in my containers. But they definitely have a trailing habit out the side, which I think really works for softening some containers. Why it works, cascades beautifully over the container edges and thrives in sun and heat. Loves the heat. They're also annuals, and so I love them because they'll get wild and crazy and all over the place, but then they just die all the way back, and you can pull them up, so you don't truthfully have to worry about them spreading. Varieties that I like to grow, I like a Carolina red. I think that's a proven winner's one. It's more like a burgundy purple color, which is really, really beautiful. I also love a tricolor one, which is green, cream, and pink. And I think that adds a nice contrast, especially if you have a lot of darker or brighter tones in your container, to put the tricolor in and have kind of these softer colors flowing out. Okay, number 6 on my list is coleus, and boy, did I grow a lot of coleus this year. I am obsessed with my coleus. I'm very, very excited about it. Its appearance is multicolored foliage in greens, reds, oranges, chartreuse, dark black colors, just absolutely gorgeous, often with bold veining. And there is nothing like coleus. The foliage for fall containers, absolutely perfect. It is perfect for fall. I'm so excited. Why it works, it provides brilliant foliage color that rivals flowers because it's so bold and beautiful. It tolerates the Texas heat if it's kept watered. So you definitely want to put it in an area where you have drip irrigation or you keep those containers watered regularly. Some of the varieties that I'm obsessed with is Coral Candy Coleus. I cannot tell you how excited I am about this one. I grew it from seed. I cannot wait to get it in the garden. It's going to be stunning. Its color is bold. Absolutely beautiful and bold. Another good one is Black Dragon. It is dark and sultry and spooky looking, a dark burgundy black color, which is absolutely perfect for a fall container. It looks really, really good. I also love any of the Kong coleus varieties. They're boldly patterned and veined, absolutely gorgeous, and they will look great, and they get big, so they can be a really big like thriller wow moment in your containers. Okay, number 7 on my list is Calibrachoa, and Calibrachoa is actually, in my opinion, kind of a picky plant. I actually think it does terrible in the ground, but it does great in containers for me. It prefers not to be planted with a lot of other things, so for Calibrachoa, you could do something like your purple fountain grass and then Calibrachoa all the way around the base of that. That would be absolutely beautiful. It doesn't want to be mixed with a lot of other plants, so kind of keep it very simple, either all Calibrachoa in the container or maybe one plant plus all Calibrachoa after that. Its appearance is basically a mini petunia like flowers in a rainbow of colors. It does have trailing habits, so that's why if you imagine that purple fountain grass coming out of a container and you got the Calibrachoa around the base of it and it's just spilling over the edge of the containers, stunning, absolutely beautiful. It does have the trailing habit, spills over the sides. It doesn't like a lot of water. It prefers some drier conditions, so keep that in mind, which is also why I think it would do well with the purple fountain grass. Why it works here, it has a long blooming season into the fall, great filler for containers at the edges. And I feel like whenever I plant Calibrachoa in the spring, it stops blooming by June. But if I plant it in the fall, it's going to bloom all the way through frost. So I feel like you get longer length of time with it when it's planted in the fall as opposed to planting it in the spring. Okay, number 8 on my list is petunias, and I really want to specifically say fall planted petunias for this area. Those of you up north probably have been able to have petunias throughout your entire season, even going into fall. For us in the North Texas area, unless you are extremely diligent about watering, deadheading, cutting back, fertilizing, and really keeping up with your petunias, you can't really grow them in the summer here. We have beautiful petunias in spring and we have beautiful petunias in the fall. But in the hottest parts of the summer, they really struggle here. But when you get into the fall and you start to have those cooler evenings, they do really great, so which is really exciting. So their appearance is a large trumpet-shaped blooms in nearly every imaginable color. At this time of year, I really look for like caramel tones, yellows, oranges, rust, deep burgundies, black, any kind of petunias in those colors. I actually love a magenta petunia worked in with like orange marigolds and purple fountain grass. I love a pop of magenta for fall colors, so keep that in mind as well. Why it works, they can be planted in the fall for long, cool season blooming into the winter, and they will just bloom their little heads off until we freeze, which is great. It's a really big, bold pop of color, which is really awesome. Okay, number 9 on my list is typically a winter plant for me, but truthfully, it can do double duty into the fall, and that is Dusty Miller. And Dusty Miller is something I plant in the winter, and then it goes great outside, and then it does beautiful and starts blooming late spring. And truthfully, I just pulled mine out like a month ago. It lasts a lot of seasons. And so I think it's a really good idea to start maybe incorporating it in more of my fall containers. So its appearance is a silvery gray foliage with a soft velvety texture, highly contrasting. Extremely contrasting plant. So when you put it in a container, it's really going to set plants apart from it, which will be great. Why it works, it's perfect contrast plant, adds brightness and texture, especially against bold colors. And it can really help really heighten some, especially if you have a lot of darker tones in your container, purple fountain grass, maybe, a deep, beautiful black petunia, and maybe you've tucked in some Calibrachoa or sweet potato vine. Incorporating some of that Dusty Miller really brings that whole container to life. And plus, it's great about Dusty Miller is most likely those can hang out in your containers most of the winter, which is really great for Zone 8, Texas Zone 8, which is really great because then you're getting more bang for your buck longer. You can also incorporate Dusty Miller into your garden beds for the fall, which is beautiful. It's also a great cut foliage for bouquets and arrangements, so keep that in mind too. Okay, and number 10 on my list is ornamental peppers. And I did not grow any of these from seed this year, and I'm kind of regretting it because I saw some at the nursery the other day and I was like, oh, so pretty. They're like little jewels. They're just so perfect. The appearance is compact plants with shiny fruits in shades of purple, red, orange, yellow, and they resemble just little gems, like just these little sparkly moments in your container. And there's nothing like ornamental peppers. And the way they really just bring a fall container to life. It brings a lot of liveliness and just wow moments to it because they're so different from any other plant that's going to be in the container. And you can get those in a couple of different heights. There's some lower ones where you can get really tiny peppers. There's some where you can get a little bit larger, longer peppers that have kind of a Southwest feel, like jalapeno looking, cayenne pepper looking, which is really cool. And you can get them a wide variety of colors, which is really beautiful. Why it works, they add color and texture without flowers, which is, sometimes in your containers, you can get really involved in all flowers in your containers. I think it's really great to add, the grasses or the peppers or the cabbage, which has a very different texture from your typical flowers. They thrive in the heat and they look great with marigolds and coleus, just all mixed in. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, I wanted to add an extra note now that we're at the end of our list. And my extra note is faux floral. I use tons of faux floral in my fall and winter containers. It is a massive budget saver for me and really brings some unusual, unique textures without spending a lot of money. They're for budget-friendly gardeners. Faux floral picks can be mixed in with live plants for extra texture and color. I love mixing things like anything kind of like that looks like a harvested stalk or grassy looking, or anything that's going to have like a pod or seed texture, I think looks really good mixed in with my live plants. They're especially helpful during the hot Texas fall when some flowers may wilt quickly. So this is a great opportunity to start incorporating some of these picks, and if some of your flowers don't make it because we end up having a triple-degree heat wave at the end of September, which has happened, you know, at least you're still covered with these floral picks, which is really exciting. They're a great way to stretch your budget while still enjoying a designer look within your containers, and they can be reutilized year after year after year. I just put mine in a big bin and box, pull them out, rearrange, do different things with them every year, and they typically last anywhere from 3 to 4 years of use, which I think is more than worth it, especially if you're someone, you hit all the sales, but you hit all the clearance sales at the end of the season, go ahead and buy for the following year. Okay, so talking through the containers, we talked about the 10 best plants, we talked about working with faux florals, and just kind of generally talking about design in and of itself, the thriller, filler, spiller. You can definitely stick to that mantra of the thriller, filler, spiller, which I love. The thriller plants are going to be your purple fountain grass, your ornamental kale, and your ornamental peppers. They're going to be your wow moments in the design. Your fillers are going to be marigolds, zinnias, coleus, petunias. They're going to bring that bright pop of color and really fill in the space nicely. And then your spillers are going to be sweet potato vines, calibrachoa, and trailing coleus, which will do absolutely beautiful. Now, you do not have to stick to that mantra of the thriller, filler, spiller. You can step out of the box. You don't have to do 3 different ones in every container. You can do 5, which I do quite frequently in my containers. I'll put a lot of different ones in there. You can do all one. Just fill out one container with all of the same plant, which makes a beautiful, bold, clean statement. I encourage you to explore and experiment and try different things. You don't have to do, like I said, the thriller, filler, spiller situation. Kind of step out, do what works for you and what you think looks best for your area. Okay, so I should have some fall containers planted in the next few weeks. I hope you guys will tune back in and join me so you can check those out. They are my favorites to plant, and I can't wait. I'm going to have some spooky planters up on my front porch because I do a whole spooky Halloween vibe on my front porch. And then within my actual garden, I have a lot of containers tucked into my garden. I will do more traditional fall planting in those containers, so it should be fun. All right, you all, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you have a good idea for a plant for a fall container, go ahead and drop that information below. And if you're in a colder environment, make sure that you let us know what zone you're in. So if you're zone 5 and you know beautiful plants that work great for you all and that work through the beginning of the winter, be sure to drop those down below. And then if you're hot like me, if you are in zone 8 Texas, zone 9, zone 10, and you have some suggestions for some really great fall color and texture that will withstand the heat, drop those below as well. As always, make sure you like and comment on the video. Every time you like and comment, it helps grow the video and my channel so much. And if you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment, just drop me an emoji below, letting me know that you made it to the end of the video and you say hi. And be sure to check me out on my Patreon community. It is all things She's a Mad Gardener, all things gardening. The link is in the video description below. It's just a great group of people. It's just a great group of people who like to talk about their gardens. I try to post, daily updates, asking questions, getting you thinking and inspired for your garden. I have lots of people who like to share what's going on in their garden, showing pictures, chatting about, asking advice, which is great. There's a free tier you can join in under, and there are additional paid tiers. The higher up you are in the tiers, the more access you get, including exclusive videos only available to patrons. I'm about to do a harvesting video for all my patrons and do some floral arranging for them. And then there are also photo sharing and group chats, which are really great as well. As always, she's a mad gardener or a decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.